Hey, what's good? It's your boy Southbury 706. This is the Dirtbird Nation Report, the unofficial podcast of Falcons Twitter. We have our regular host, Lethal Saint, aka Jiv Queen, aka she's about to get banned from the Falcons official Twitter page because she's saying crazy stuff in their DMs. And we have, yeah, she should have been blocked by the Falcons page a long time ago. I don't know why they don't do it because she's extremely rude, but I mean, it is what it is. You know, beggars can't be choosers with the franchise that hasn't won a title yet, but, you know, maybe soon. We also have a special guest, Matt Karoly. Karoly, how you pronouncing that last name?
Yep.
Karoly, formerly of Blogging Dirty, Riser Reader, and Falcons PFC. We are honored to have him on our podcast. What's going on?
Not much, guys. It's great to be here. Got free agency a couple days away. Exciting times. Hopefully the Falcons dip their hand in this, and excited to talk a little bit about that, including the voidable years topic, which is very popular these days in NFL circles. So again, thanks for having me.
No problem. So before we get into the voidable deals talk, let's talk about the big news that just happened a couple of minutes ago, maybe about an hour ago, with the retirement of longtime Saints quarterback Drew Brees. What are your thoughts on that?
Excited to see him go. Not going to miss him. I mean, he's kind of run roughshod over the division for far too long, and it's time. Hopefully Matt Ryan gets a few years in the spotlight. Obviously, Tom Brady, his presence in the division overshadowing things a bit, but Father Time's going to come for him eventually one day. So again, wish Drew well, I guess, whatever next chapter of his life, but definitely not disappointed in the least that he's out of our lives and out of the division.
So did you see the tribute video the official Falcons Twitter page did to Drew Brees?
I did, unfortunately, and it's up there probably with one of their worst tweets. Up there with that, if you guys remember that Dirty Bird music video that they beginning of like 2 seasons ago, that corny video. And they eventually listened to us all and took it down. I mean, it's up there with that, and hopefully they do the same with the Drew Brees tweet, which I guess right now it's currently up, right? They haven't taken it.
I'll check it, but they might get bullied into it, but
I mean, they certainly should.
There's a lot of people, and I get it, man. You want to show respect to a future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's still up.
But it's just like he's been a thorn in our side for many, many, many years. And it's just like, why would you – I could see you showing a highlight video of him doing this to other teams. Why would you show him, like, torching our own team and then just slide in that interception, like, in the middle? Like, right. If you're going to do a montage for your rival antagonist quarterback, you need to show all the bad plays. Show us sacking him. Well, the little sacks we get. Show us making him look frustrated. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, social media accounts, they make a habit of trolling. It's nothing new for them. So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be, unprofessional or anything at all, in my opinion, if they would have just showed, like, the 5 interception game or him getting sacked or the Deion Jones interception. Like, it's all in good fun. Social media is all in good fun for the most part. So, yeah, the fact that they did that was lame.
Yeah, because I'm sure they have their 23 jokes ready at all times. But before we get into the voidable deals, we have been joined by Marcus Sniffles, resident Colts super fan, and then he's low-key a Falcons fan. But what are your thoughts on the whole Drew Brees retirement?
Oh, I'm glad to see him go. I'm super happy to see him go. I've been tired of this man compiling all these stats while not being able to throw past 5 yards with his weak-ass arm. So it's good to see him go out, and I will never wish for anything positive to happen to the Saints after Bountygate in 2011, I believe. So to see Drew Brees go and then for them to double down on Taysom Hill and extend him, Jesus Christ, what are you thinking? So they will be. I think they're going to be a pretty mediocre team for the next for the length of that contract because they have to let go of so many people to keep a guy. Their franchise quarterback was literally on punt coverage last year. He was running down on punt team, making tackles, and that's your franchise quarterback. Yeah, you guys are y'all about to be trash.
Yeah, that credit card bill is going to come due pretty soon. Saints. I mean, they've been pushing down this money for a while, and the Taysom Hill stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into soon. It's just more of the same. It's more just putting dead money into future years. But yeah, it's kind of they've become a salary cap meme. It's hilarious. I mean, I'm still, the 4 years, 140 million. Something folks need to know about that. I mean, it's not really a 4-year, $140 million deal. All of that's, kind of just incentive laden that he's not going to see. I mean, Adam Schefter could have tweeted 4 years, $400 million. It would have worked the exact same way. It's just a way for them to create salary cap space in the present to, be cap compliant. But they just push more dead money out. And, Taysom Hill, I don't know how long he's going to really be a Saint for. I do think, the Jameis Winston stuff is legitimate, and I think they're going to look to bring him back, and then it'll be an open competition between those two for quarterback.
Definitely. So just like your BFF Aaron Freeman says, salary cap is a myth. So we'll get into the voidable deal. So break that down for us, for a lot of the people like myself who aren't cap experts. I kind of just paired what the smarter people on Twitter say. I actually don't get in those debates too much because I have no clue how it works. It's all magical money to me. So I guess kind of break it down for us.
Yeah. So, with voidable years, simply put, it's just another way to spread out, guaranteed money, bonus money into future years. So kind of to illustrate that, I figured it's easiest, especially when you're dealing with numbers. I'm a visual learner. I think it's best to kind of share and show the numbers and how it all works. So what I'm going to do, because I think Grady Jarrett is a prime candidate for the voidable year restructure that you're hearing around the league, and something, again, more and more teams are going to use it this year just because the salary cap dropped by $16 million from the prior year. So again, I'm going to share what Grady Jarrett's contract looks like now on the screen. Just give us 1 sec there. Pull that up. So this is what Grady Jarrett's contract looks like now. He's only got 2 years left. Usually with voidable years, you want to use that mechanism on a player that doesn't have, 4 or 5 years left on their deal. One of the reasons that is because with spreading out bonus money and guaranteed money, you can do so up to 5 years. So when a player only has 2 years left, typically the thought is, well, you can only spread out bonus money for 2 years. Well, that's incorrect. Now that voidable years is a thing. So again, this is Grady Jarrett's contract right now. His cap hit is currently $20.833 million. Then he's got a cap hit for $23.833 million next year. So this is what it would look like if the Falcons restructured him and used voidable years. They would turn his base salary, which again, I'm just going to show you back again. His base salary right now is $13.5 million. They can reduce that all the way down to the vet min, which is $990,000. And then the difference, so that 13 or so million or 12 or so million, they can spread out over up to 5 years. And that's where voidable years comes into play. These last 3 years right here in the restructure 2 column, 2023, 2024, and 2025 are what's known as voidable years or dummy years, because Grady's technically not under contract for those years, but they can spread out the cap hit over those 3 years because they got up to 5. So then Grady Jarrett's cap hit would drop down to $10.825 million, hence a $10 million savings that the Falcons could potentially have in 2021. And the reason it makes so much sense with Grady is because, again, he's still playing at an extremely high level. It's very likely he's going to get one more deal with Atlanta. So the fact that these 3 years have cap hits, they can just eventually extend him next year, and his new deal can run through 2025, and they can just kind of even out those cap charges that would be used in a restructure. So again, I mean, voidable years, it's just another way to save cap in the present. Moving bonus money, again, you're kicking the can down the road a little bit. But for a guy like Grady Jarrett, who, again, you still expect to play well for the next 3 to 4 years, it makes sense to do so. Another one that, kind of makes sense to do so, and I have it here as well, is Deion Jones. Again, if the Falcons and the new regime feels good about Deion Jones, they can do the exact same thing. They can restructure his base salary down to that $990,000 vet min, and then you add 2 voidable years, because Deion has 3 remaining on his deal. So you'd be adding 2 voidable years or fake years onto his contract to spread out that restructure. So the restructure would be, you're adding $1.44 million over the next 5 years, and you would drop his, I think he's got like a $12 million cap hit down to $6.8 million. So you'd save like $5 or $6 million or $5.768 million. So again, voidable years, just another mechanism NFL teams are going to use, especially this year when the cap's so tight, to kind of spread out bonus money, guaranteed money in the future years and save money in the present.
So I kind of get the concept of what it is. Like you're kind of doing some, not necessarily cooking the books, but
no, you are, yeah.
It makes sense for the GM and the franchise to kind of, say make your cap compliant, like you said earlier. But I guess playing devil's advocate, what would be a player's incentive to do this, right? Like I'm a Grady Jarrett's like, no, like I'm good.
Well,
I don't
the thing is,
it.
when you restructure and you convert base salary into bonus money, that player is getting that money up front, whereas before he'd have to play out the season to get that money. So again, going back to Grady Jarrett's original contract, he's currently right now $13.5 million base salary. Base salaries are paid each week of the season. If you convert that into a bonus, he's getting that money straight up front, injury or not, doesn't matter. And then from a cap standpoint, like you said, cooking the books, yeah, I mean, you're spreading out. Let me go back to Grady Jarrett. You're spreading out then that 13 or so million over 5 years. So that, I mean, that's why, when you hear restructure, it's not the same thing as a pay cut. Restructure is just a cap accounting mechanism to move the money around. And that's why Aaron likes to make the point that the salary cap is a myth, because again, there is stuff like this that teams can do to manipulate the salary cap. But where he's wrong is the salary cap is a hard number. Like you can't change the number. You have to get under that number if you're a team. But there's different things in play that you can do. And voidable years is again one of the hot button popular ways that teams this year are remaining cap compliant and saving money this year, when they know that the cap is going to go up in future years based on this new TV deal. So again, the incentive for the players, they're getting their money up front. It also helps lock them in more because, again, you are spreading guaranteed money into future years. So it makes it tougher to part. But again, that's why you pick guys like Grady Jarrett. That's why you pick guys like potentially Deion Jones if you feel good about him in this scheme for the long haul, is because you're not worried about the future with them. You think they're going to be here for 4, 5, 6 years.
Okay. Well, Jiff brought up a good question in the private chat. So I guess it makes sense for players like Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones, who we foresee, making another contract with the Falcons. Yeah. But what about players like Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, who, at some point everything comes to an end, their time here is going to be over. What would be the difference using those two players that could be out of here in the next 2, 3, 4, let's say things go really well, 5 years? Like, what would be the difference of doing that with those guys?
Well, yeah, you probably don't want to use the voidable years with them. Falcons did announce a couple of days ago a restructure with Jake Matthews, and it appears that they didn't use the voidable year structure with him. They just used the regular max restructure, which means they didn't add some extra fake years onto his deal. They just spread it out over the remaining 3 years. So again, I mean, it makes guys like that, Jake Matthews, tougher to cut in future years, but at the same time, you're not extending his stay longer by adding those fake years. With Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, I do believe they're going to restructure him just because they kind of are forced to if they want to make any sort of mid-tier signings to get under the cap and fill out their roster rather than just sign all of that min guys. But again, I mean, their two contracts are the ones that are the most interesting storylines I think the Falcons will have this offseason, is how much that they restructure them by, because that'll really tell us, what they think about them for the long term. I do have a couple Matt Ryan and Julio Jones contracts up here, and again, these are with the max restructure. No voidable years, no fake years. So again, Matt Ryan's deal only goes through 2023 when he's 38 years old. So you're essentially converting his base salary down to the minimum for him, which is $1.075 million, and then you're spreading it out over this restructure 3 column. So again, you're dropping his $40-some million cap hit right now at the moment to $26 million. And that in turn will, bump up his final 2 years to 48 and 43. And then I even added this column here this is what the savings look like if he was cut in 2022 and in 2023 is, the savings would only be $7.8 million, and that's a straight up cut. That's not post June 1 where they would spread it out. And then this is 2023 where they'd save $28 million and have a $15 million dead money charge. So, that's more likely. Julio Jones, same type of deal. I always thought when they signed Julio to that deal, they kind of set up the cap hits, for a restructure this year, just because of the fact that, he has a higher cap hit this year as opposed to the final 2 years, which you don't often see. Usually you see teams like it's progressively backloaded where the cap hit goes up each year. That's not the case with Julio. So I always thought it was built in for restructure. And again, I do think they will restructure him in some form, whether it's the max. I don't know. Again, both of these examples that I'm showing here are the max because, I just wanted to look into the fact, how much money can the Falcons really truly play with if they wanted to under this cap? And if you do the max restructures, they could be sitting on, $35 million in cap space to fill out 21 roster spots.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, they can do some work with that.
Considering where people thought they were at the beginning of the offseason, there was always this talk about the Falcons are still they're a good team. They just had a down year, a lot of injuries, whatever. But they're in cap hell. They have the worst cap situation. Yeah. But it's as we get closer to the draft and free agency and all these things, they're able to do these moves to create money. So, if they're able to create $34 million in cap space, that's great for them because that's a lot of money considering, where they are at as a roster and what they have on that team. You can fill some holes with that.
And again, that's going back to the earlier point, there's always ways to create money. And again, what I'm showing you there, those two charts with Matt and Julio, again, you're having to say that you want to build around these guys for a couple more years. And, again, I'm kind of that standpoint that if they upgraded the coaching, that this team, can be right back in the mix of the playoff hunt. With the core group that they have. Because, again, I don't think this is your standard run-of-the-mill 4-12, picking 4th overall type of team. This team, you guys all watched the games. They should have been 8-8, 9-7.
this was a monopoly.
That's not a stretch at all. It was just some dumb Falcons luck, as usual, creeping up and some, poor decisions coaching-wise and obviously having to deal with Dirk Cutter, who was a bottom 5 offensive coordinator. Enjoy your life in Idaho, Dirk, but I never want to see you anywhere close to the Atlanta Falcons building ever again. And now with Arthur Smith, I legit think that they have, an offensive mastermind running the show and, Dean Pease, a mastermind defensive coordinator with a resume as good as any, controlling the defense. And I think he's the guy that can do more with less. And I think there are some pieces on that defense. I think the offense is more built to just, win right now. The defense, again, that's why if it was me running the show, I'd take the free agency to try to fill the holes on defense and then, let them build offensively in the draft. I think also the draft kind of sets up with that as far as the talent goes. But curious to get your thoughts on that. How would you play this if it was you calling the shots this offseason?
Well, I want to go back to an earlier point as far as what you're saying with the Falcons kind of being snake bitten this year with terrible coaching, terrible game management. Just everything down the line was bad. It was a joke on how some of these games were coached and managed. And it made you really question what these guys' acumen as professionals were. Because the infamous kick covers thing, there's people, players that know that type of stuff. But I was kind of the mindset that hey, the games we could have won, sure, could have gave us, we could have won maybe 8, 9, 10 games. But my mindset was I don't think we have a team roster-wise that's built to go deep in the playoffs or beat the top-tier teams like the Kansas City.
Well, I'm glad you brought the top-tier teams up because they went toe-to-toe with the 2 Super Bowl representatives 3 times.
And this is where my point kind of changed, or my viewpoint kind of changed watching the Super Bowl. It truly is any given Sunday because Patrick Mahomes was still, dropping dimes on people, but they had issues on the offensive line. And I'm like, the Falcons are bad, at the moment, but on the right day with some right coaching, we could have beat that team too. You know what I'm saying? Like we could be competing with those guys. So I kind of get where a lot of people are of the mindset where we shouldn't use the number 4 pick to get a quarterback and build around Matt Ryan in his latter years. But again, that it's kind of a double-edged sword because you do want to give Matt Ryan the best opportunity he can to win a Super Bowl in Atlanta, but you also don't want to put your team in purgatory where, hey, Matt Ryan's starting to age out and we could potentially be witnessing one of these available quarterbacks we had the opportunity to draft have a Hall of Fame trajectory as our team is getting better. Now we've lost the most valuable asset to our team, which is a quarterback. And now we're just sitting here spinning our wheels because now we're waiting to get a quarterback. And as we find this quarterback eventually, our defense is going to start to get worse or one of our weapons is going to start to get older. So I'm of the mindset of, yes, I would get the money, build the defense. I still would like to see a quarterback. I haven't really been set on that pick. I'm more best available player because, again, one player is not going to change the draft, but having somebody in your back pocket to be the heir apparent to Matt Ryan, it's a very sexy idea to me. But again, at this moment, I'm best player available. So
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree at all. I think it's certainly tempting, very, very tempting. I like to point to the Chargers a little bit, and I know people might laugh about that because, there's always these comparisons that the Chargers are the AFC version of the Falcons with their bad luck and some of their history. But the Chargers were picking 3rd and I believe 6th or 7th overall in 2016 and 2017. 2016, they took Bosa, I think 3rd, and 2017, they took Mike Williams. Both those years, they had an aging Phillip Rivers there, and they decided against, and everyone knows that 2017 draft class was Mahomes and Watson, and they decided to go in a different direction. And I guess looking back on it, they would have definitely taken one of those quarterbacks instead of Mike Williams. But the point is, they went for it again with Phillip Rivers, and they did have another shot at it. In 2018, they were looking very good. I thought that this was the year that they were going to be able to beat the Patriots in the playoffs. Turns out that wasn't the case. They lost in round 2, but they went for it. And again, there's not a Bosa in this class. It would have made it easy. If there was a Bosa in this class, I think it would make the decision a lot more easier than it is right now.
Yeah.
But there's an offensive lineman there, and we like to bring up the offensive line and how bad it's been, and it has been bad. I think it's trending the right way, and I think coaching. Again, you keep coming back to coaching.
Mm-hmm.
This Dwayne Ledford guy in O-line circles, a lot of people are talking him up. I'm very intrigued by him and what he's going to do. But, Penny Sewell, if he's there at 4, he's that all-pro, he's that Quentin Nelson type of player that the Colts took a couple years ago that I don't think they're regretting taking him 6th overall when they did, when I guess they didn't have questions at quarterback at that point. Again, I don't really think the Falcons do. It's down the road. There's going to be a question mark. But for me, if you're not taking a quarterback and you're not trading down, I think Penny Sewell at 4, if he's there,
thank you,
makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
And you really just complete the 5 offensive linemen because you took Hennessy. I think Hennessy will be, in the position to be the starting center. You have Chris Lindstrom, who's really, coming into his own at right guard. We'll see what Caleb McGarry, he's been up and down, and then Jake Matthews has been steady, and he's going to be here for a while because they restructured him. So if you take Sewell, who cares where they play? Let the coaches figure that out, and you could have one of the better offensive lines in football very, very quickly. And that type of stuff travels in January. That will turn the run game around because it starts up front. So that's tempting as well for me.
That was my original guess when they asked, who are the Falcons going to take at number 4? I said Penei Sewell because obviously the Jaguars and Jets are probably going to go with the quarterback.
Yeah.
The Dolphins don't need a quarterback, supposedly. So I would have said take Penei Sewell, but based on what I've been reading, they're saying that this is a very deep offensive line class.
No, it is, yeah.
So you can get a starter further down. So what I would do, I'm at number 4, I am calling the Lions at number 7, or I'm calling the Panthers at 8. I'm like, hey, y'all want
there's
this?
a lot of teams you can call, I think.
Panthers
You want
are
this
not
4th spot
the Panthers are not going to trade the Falcons, man. That is
to trade up?
Yeah, I think
get
if
a
anything, the
quarterback?
Panthers go to 3.
But yeah, they want Zach Wilson. I don't think they're going to get him unless they can get the Jets something. But either way, I'm calling one of these teams. I'm like, hey, y'all want Justin Fields? Come up here and get him. And we can get a starting O-line in the first round at number 8 or 9 or whatever. Maybe get an extra second-round pick and either bolster that O-line or bolster that the defense. And that's like he brought up with the Colts. When we picked up Quentin Nelson, we originally were at the 3 spot. We traded down to the 6 spot.
Right. Yeah.
Still got the best offensive lineman, might have got the best player in that draft, and were able to add another starting offensive lineman in the second round and get Darius Leonard in the second round. Like, with those picks, you can build up a team. So with the team that's right now cap strapped, you get all those rookies in and they hit. And here's the thing, they have to hit.
You get more dart throws, though. You get more opportunities to
have that's what you want.
That's where I've been all like originally is, trading down. But you need to find a partner, and sometimes it doesn't always work. But I do think there's more and more teams, that need the quarterback right now. There's even the San Francisco 49ers that they're not dead set on Jimmy G. So
trash.
They could move up.
Call all those teams.
That's where I'm at right now. If that's priority number 1. Try to trade down.
Teams are going to call up to the Falcons. They're going to be like, hey, like Justin Fields, Trey Lance are still on the board. We really like those quarterbacks. Like, what's it going to take? And then the Falcons can put them in a bidding war. Like, hey, the Lions just offered this. The Panthers just offered this. Like, let's get the best deal. Let's get the most picks. Let's get the most opportunities so you can build up this team through the draft. And
like they can get another first-round pick out of it next year. Imagine having 2 first-round picks next year.
That'd be kind of cool. So I guess either way, like at the end of the day, I just want us to be, a playoff competitive team every year. I don't care how it happens, what we do, but it's just kind of just building up anticipation of the draft, people having their debates on which way to go. I mean, another way you could slice it, which kind of came up late, and I know Aaron spoke about it quite a bit, is the idea of drafting Kyle Pitts. Because I know that you said you want to build around Matt Ryan's last couple of years, the Falcons. What not better than giving him probably one of the top-rated tight ends coming out, who people are saying has the best potential to be an all-pro from some people's analysis. So if you look at it, you got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, whoever's in the backfield, and Kyle Pitts, who is too big for linebacker, or too fast for linebackers, too big for DBs. I mean,
trade down again.
Hey, run and gun. Let's go. Let's do it. So, I mean, that's another option. So it's like, I feel like in any iteration of the draft that we do, I think we'll be fine. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, we'll have another high draft pick and we'll run it back. But it's just a matter of what level of pain and turmoil the fans want to continue to deal with.
Yeah.
That's why the quarterback thing, I think, is the most solid way to go, because like I don't want to go back to the dark ages with Joey Harrington and Byron Leftwich. I kind of want to avoid that if possible. And I think by having a young quarterback, whether you get in the first, second, or third round, can help us avoid that. So that's just, I hope at some point, because we only have one quarterback on the roster at this point now, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get a quarterback at some point.
One of the things I want to pose, because again, I think a team like the Packers, we saw it, work out this way where, they valued the future over the present in last year's draft. They went Jordan Love. They went a second running back, and then they went an H-back. They made it all the way to the NFC title game.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if the Falcons next year were in the playoffs, but took a quarterback, took a receiver maybe in round 2, and then throw out any position in round 3, and those players that they took were not contributors on their playoff team next year? How would that make you feel if that, and then that stopped them from going to the Super Bowl or making a longer run in the postseason?
But the thing is,
everything.
It's still that idea that, like, okay, you got to look at it in another way, though. If you make it to the postseason without having to use these rookies, now next year you're reloading. These guys are getting a year of experience under the belt, and now they can come in and contribute. Like every year is not going to be the
what if they're not it though? What if those guys end up not being it?
Yeah, but the probability of rookies having that big of an impact isn't that high anyways, with the exception of like that 1 year with like with our Arthur Blunt's like won 4 starters, and we happened to pull that off with was Austin Hooper, Campbell,
right,
whatever draft that was. So that's rare that happens, and I think that was more of a scheme thing anyways, though. I see your point. It's just like it's still a 50-50 trap either way.
And again, you want to have sustained success. You do. Yeah. You want to have your eye on the long term as well. But I do think they're going to have their eye on the short term too, because I mean that's kind of the mandate that Arthur Blank and Rich McKay always have for this team is they want to be winners right now. So again, that's what I think makes the Falcons such an interesting team this offseason, is because again, they can go in a bunch of different directions. Will they go and focus on the short term, or will they, kind of do a little bit of both? Because if they focus on the long term, like I don't think they can kind of split the difference. Because if you focus on the short term, you're having to do what I said at the top of the show, is like really restructuring all these deals, creating as much cap space as possible, and then using it on your defense or your offense. And then in the draft, instead of taking the quarterback, you take offensive linemen, or you trade back and accumulate picks. If they look at the long run, they're not going to restructure these deals as much. It's going to be vet min guys. They'll take the quarterback in round 1, and again, you're leaving Matt Ryan and Julio Jones with not a whole lot else to work with and help out. Like you're passing a chance on potentially an offensive lineman early. Because again, it's a good offensive line class, but I do think there's going to be a lot taking in round 1. Once you start getting to, maybe round 2, there's a guy, but there's no guarantee that they take one in round 2. They might go running back or cornerback or something. Once you start getting to round 3, I mean, the pickings seem to be a little bit slimmer then, and at that point, then you're hoping on maybe they go to free agency for no lineman, but. Again, if they have the long run view, they're not going to have a lot of cap space to get a starting left guard, I don't think. So, again, I don't think there's any in between. I think they're either going to choose to build with Matt and Julio, or they're going to take the long run approach. I mean, maybe they surprise me. They always seem to do so, but based on what I know from the numbers, it seems like one or the other.
Okay, so if you had to pick one or the other, which one would you prefer? Because I'm going with long run. I mean, I get it. I love Matt. I love Julio, but
yeah.
We're already saying that a lot of last year's problems were pretty much coaching and scheme.
Right. So that's why you can still, like, Matt's still not the problem. Julio's, I believe Julio will return to good health. You have Calvin Ridley, a budding, emerging star. Like I said, the O-line, I think, is trending the right way, and the coaching will only make that even more even better. And then there's pieces on the defense, and I trust the coaching. I trust Dean Pease to maximize the guys that they do have. I'm building for one more run, for one more 3-year run. And again, you can always return to this quarterback conversation. Again, it looks like a great class, but it's no guarantee.
They look like great classes every year.
Yeah, the whole Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, that
like Zach Wilson wasn't on our radar even at this point last year, and now he's a thing. So
now he's a number 2
you're
overall
get those
pick.
Guys every year.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the whole argument that we don't want to be in this situation.
Well, but that's the thing that I keep saying is if we're not in this position anytime soon, that must mean we're not too bad, and we just need a couple pieces here and there and better coaching.
It's like a cheat code because like we're not bad, but we can actually just stash this in the cupboard for later. Like
here's the last point I want to make about the quarterback. Part of the reason it's so appealing to take a quarterback this early is that rookie contract, right? Quarterbacks aren't paid that much on their rookie deals anymore now that the new CBA came around 10 years ago. Falcons wouldn't have the benefit of that as much if they took a quarterback at 4 because they're going to have dead cap money either way. You slice it with their quarterback. You take someone 4th overall, I'll tell you, I can guarantee it. He's not sitting for more than 1 year. You're playing him in year 2. So Matt's only got one more year, and then you're looking at a $26 million, and that's right now. That could likely go up. A $26 million dead cap hit at the very least in 2022. So if you're paying dead cap money to a quarterback, plus you're paying 2 years of quarterback at a low rate, you're still paying 30 to 40 million for your quarterbacks over those first 2 years. So you're not seeing as much of a benefit anymore. And again, that's if they don't use the post-June 1 cut and spread that dead cap charge of Matt Ryan into 2023, because then you're paying big money for quarterbacks for 3 years and you're not really seeing the benefit anymore. So again, I just think, yes, I love Matt, and part of it is I want to see Matt get one more shot at a Super Bowl, but another part is the economics of it just don't really align too well with the Falcons seeing a huge value with the rookie quarterback contract. Now, again, there's some value to it, but again, with the dead money that Matt's going to have either way, you're not seeing as much of a benefit as you would if the Panthers took a quarterback. They're going to see the benefit right off the bat because, again, they don't really have a quarterback contract to speak of. Teddy Bridgewater's can be easily discarded. Same with the Jets. So those are the teams that make sense for Falcons. I get it. It's like a cheat code. We shouldn't be in this spot. But again, I think that just speaks to the point that, hey, let's try to build this. We shouldn't be in this spot. Let's either take a really good player at a position that we actually need or trade back and accumulate picks and accumulate dart throws and really build up the depth of this roster that is a little hurting because of some of the contracts that they have or the free agent misses that they've had. So that's why, again, for me, I'm let's build this. Let's go for one more run. I believe in this coaching staff, and I believe in this core group of talent that they have right now. So again, we'll see what happens. If it's a quarterback, it's a quarterback, and then I guess appreciate and enjoy the last year of Matt, and we'll see about Julio in 2021. But that's where I'm at with the whole thing.
Okay. Well, how about we wrap on this note? Let's do a prediction. We'll start with Marcus. Even though you're not a Falcons fan, well, you're a low-key Falcons fan. What do you predict the Falcons do with the number 4 pick? Trade down. Jiff, what do you think?
Sewell.
Okay. Matt, what do you got?
I want to say trade down too, but I wouldn't be shocked if
pick one. Pick one.
Let's put trade down. Just trade down. Just trade down. Stick with my first instinct.
I am going to go with the Falcons will draft a quarterback with the 4th overall pick and address all their other issues of free agency and the rest.
Which quarterback?
I have not decided that at this time.
Oh, come on.
Put a name on it.
It's Trey Lance Mania right now, so we don't know. I think that might be just a smoke screen too, but it is what it is. But
I mean, if there is one quarterback, Trey Lance makes the most sense just from scheme and a timeline standpoint. Trey's the type of guy that you don't need to rush, and he needs a little bit more seasoning and time for development. So he'd be perfect. But again, if you pick Trey Lance 4th overall, he will be the starting quarterback then in 2022 would be my prediction.
Ooh.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Matt, we appreciate you coming on. Do you have any shout outs, anything you want to plug?
Nothing to plug. Appreciate you guys. Just basically been a free agent, enjoying making appearances on podcasts such as yours. So it's been fun. Hopefully we can do it again. And, everyone can catch me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, MattKaroly.
Definitely. We'll definitely have to get together after the draft and see whose prediction came to fruition. So that'll be interesting. Mark, any shout outs?
I guess shout out to Josh. He's not here. Shout out to him. Resident Colts fan with me based on his Ave. So shout out to him. Shout out to his little boy. Shout out to his girl who made them pies.
Jiff, what do you got?
Shout out to Matt. Thank you so much for coming on at the last minute. Padre, no, I am not in a U-Haul truck. I did not participate in All-Star Weekend. Thank you. I'm moving and I have none of my equipment. And I'm literally sitting on the floor doing this and getting this done. because Matt said he wanted to come on, and I was like, okay, I'm doing everything I can to get this man on the show. So I appreciate you coming and sharing your insight. I really learned a lot, and I hope y'all did too. I was like dead ass looking like, wow, how can I apply this to my personal finances? Because
Yes,
woo,
I saw that you're a CPA in your bio, and when you pulled up that Excel spreadsheet, I had anxiety because I'm taking an accounting class right now, and it is destroying my life. So, God bless you.
If you ever need accounting help, shout me out because I'm an accountant by trade, so I'd love to help if you can.
Listen.
But yeah, appreciate you, Jeff, for moving your schedules around to make this work. It's fun.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
KTSE Ave podcast. Make sure y'all go tune in.
Yep, we're about to record that next. So definitely appreciate y'all checking us out. This is Dirty Bird Nation Report, the unofficial official podcast about Twitter. We out. Peace.